Okay, so now, thanks to the joys of technology, we're going to do a smooth transfer over to our media studio downstairs, where Isobelle is going to be joined by one of the UA92 co-founders and former Manchester United player, class of 92 member, Gary Neville. Over to you, Isobelle.
How are you, Gary?
I'm really good. Disappointed that we've gone into a second lockdown, but obviously understand why we have.
Yeah.
But just hoping we can come out the other side and create a sustainable way forward in the next 12 months, because it's getting difficult now, obviously, in many different areas.
Yeah, and another lesson in resilience, I suppose, for a lot of people, isn't it, for the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think it is, particularly if you're in certain sectors that are locked down, that obviously can't operate. There are some more sectors open this time in this lockdown than there were in the previous, which makes it a little better. But I think getting people, mobilised and moving and getting them sort of out there again is a critical path for the next 12 months, and how the sort of whole world gets moving again. I was actually in Athens late last week and was at the airport on the way back, and it was just like a ghost town. It just feels like quite eerie.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll rebuild. More on that later, though. So my first question for you is, what inspired you to found UA92, and what were your sort of founding principles upon creating the academy here?
I think the first thing was about impacting as many people as we possibly could with the I suppose the characteristics that we had whilst we were coming through at United, which is, that robustness and resilience, knowing full well that you're going to have difficult moments in your life and that you're going to have ups and downs. But we believe that character and personality can be developed. We believe it's one of the most important things. We believe everybody has a skill and a talent, and that there's that belief in them for that. But actually, if you don't have the other, really important characteristics that I mentioned before, like resilience and robustness, that element of personality and leadership skill, then you really are going to sort of not achieve what you want to achieve in your life. And it's really giving those sort of what would be other traits as the level of prominence that maybe the academic element gets, which is obviously something that's quite new in university.
Yeah, definitely. And you're a very busy man, so what makes the higher education sector one of your priorities, I suppose? Why is it so important to you personally?
I think it came a little bit, it wasn't just by design in terms of we want to set up a university. It was almost a little bit organic. We took over Salford City Football Club and we created a partnership with Salford University.
Yeah.
And there was an academic dean there who we got very close to, wanted to develop a relationship in terms of the actual how we could sort of get students into our football club, how the football club could benefit from research and development that was being done in the university. And we started to talk about the fact that, from 4 to the age of 18, when you go from school to college, you've got a really structured day.
Yeah.
And obviously your working life is ordinarily a structured day. And in the middle, you have this 3-year, what would be really unstructured curriculum that's essentially a little bit not relative to anything that you do in your life. And the idea that you have that 3-year block of not knowing when your curriculum's going to be each month, not knowing what days you're going to be, it could be an hour one day, 2 hours the next. You can't really fix in that bridge period between college and employment. You can't really fix what would be. That's a really important period, not just for learning, but also for that bridge into work experience and making sure that you're developing your character, your personality, and you're actually going into a workplace of choice rather than going into maybe what would be hospitality, which many do, because obviously they can interchange their hours from month to month when the curriculum changes. And we just started to think about the fact that, was it really the best development of your sort of years between college and employment? And both found that there was an attitude towards young people that maybe they're not as strong as they used to be. It was tougher in my day. And put those two things together, and we sort of thought, well, I think we should probably try and have a go at this and disrupt what is obviously conventional practice in academia for students to be something that we felt would be more tailored towards developing a better character, still have the academic excellence, but make people more employable. And that'll be the ultimate judge of UA92, whether it's worked or not.
And what do you think of the people that say, kids these days have it easily compared to maybe when you grow up? What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. I think it was a lot more simple for me in my day. I think there is a real lazy attitude towards this, in respect of people look back and say, oh, they were tougher in my day. You're still hearing phrases like "man up" and things like that, which are just well out of date. And we just used to give them a clip round the ear and on you get with it type thing. But it's a yesteryear. You cannot motivate, lead young people today by these types of attitudes. And there is an element of that that I felt was existed in football, and people are taught differently. They want to learn differently. It's a lot more immediate. There's a lot more information. There's a lot more of it. You give more information to someone, I think it's more difficult, not less difficult. And that isn't just information, whether it be through the internet, social media, teachers, lecturers, whoever it may be in your life that you come through. There is so much more access to information, and how to be able to actually filter that information into good information and bad information and useless information, I think it's more difficult. Whereas when we were younger, it was just simple. It was really simple. You had your parents, you had your teacher, you had a really clear path. It was really focused, and it's not anymore. And I think the idea of going to university and not having that sort of personal coach and that real bespoke learning experience, I think it's quite dangerous, because I think that you can end up going into an abyss of just, thousands of people, thousands of students, where you really need that personal attention, whether it's from your teacher, your coach, your parents. You need that focus and bringing back on path. And it's not about telling you what to do. It's about making sure you're just guided to where you need to get to, and making sure that you don't veer away from your sort of key principles that you want to follow. So I think for me, this project is meant to do that, and hopefully we'll achieve it.
Definitely, I'm sure you will. You touched earlier upon relevance, and you just touched there on personal development coaches. Sorry, what sort of parts of the UA92 model do you think are most relevant to our prospective students that may want to apply here, that our teachers and advisors are liaising with on a daily basis?
I think it's the idea that you've got that level of certainty around your curriculum, so you can plan around it, which I think is really important. You create a structure. I think the fact that you have that personal coach that you see regularly, it means that you've got that sort of one-to-one, which I think is really important in your life. I think everybody needs a mentor. Don't matter what age you are, whether you're 4 or whether you're 44, you need someone who you can be able to just ring up and say, how does this feel? How does this sit? Just bounce things off. And it's really difficult, I think, particularly for younger people, to find that person that they trust, they can believe in, that they can mentor. And I was very fortunate. We were very fortunate as young football players. We had 2 or 3 characters and individuals who sort of came into our lives at the age of sort of 16 through to 21, who guided us towards what we became as individuals. And I think that isn't my choice. That's by luck. That they were there and I was there, and it's about who you meet in your life, who you end up sort of being led by, who you end up being sort of looking up to, and your standard bearers. People follow, and I think the reality of it is that this university, I believe, should be built purely for the student and their individual development. You are not one of many. You are an individual. You are an individual who's got their own talent, their own strengths, their own things they need to develop and become better at. And it's our job to make sure that we do that. And I don't think that's any different than, I don't see teaching or to me it's the same as parenting. You are a massive influence upon those people's lives, and it's important to get really good information and they get fed back into, and they're also stretched. They're also taken out of their comfort zone at times and pushed into different scenarios. I think you're out of your comfort zone today, coming in here on your first day, doing an interview live, having to introduce it. That is incredible achievement. I genuinely believe that, because I look at myself as a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old. I don't think I would have been able to do these. I don't think I would have been able to do this. So I look at the fact that people, for me today, and we look at young people, we look at people who have got real confidence. We need to build on that confidence and develop them, put belief into them.
Right. And do you still make use of a coach now, or mentors? Do you have those people in your life? Or
I do, just by not by calling them my coach
not
or my
formally,
mentor. No, but I do. I spoke to Sir Alex for 45 minutes last week when I was away in Athens.
Okay.
He was putting me right on a few things. I speak to our major shareholder in Salford City, and just a little sort of word here or there. There are people who I speak to who it doesn't always have to be actually. I always think as well, when I was at United, you don't always have to be inspired by people who are older than you either.
No.
I was inspired by Raphael when Raphael was coming through as a young right back. He inspired me because he played right back differently than I did, and he inspired me to see the game differently. Even though I was a 30-year-old right back who'd played hundreds of games, played for England, there's this sort of 17, 18-year-old right back, and I was seeing the way in which he approached the game, and it was inspiring me to change the way I saw the game and played the game. So not necessarily that he would be a mentor, to me, but he would certainly influence the way in which I look at things. You don't always have to be influenced by people who are older than you. You
No.
don't always have to be influenced by speaking to people. You can be influenced by other things. So I do still look at sort of different people and think, yeah, I like the way they go about their work. I like the way in which they do things. I like something that they do. But then there are a couple of people that I would still speak to, are what you'd class as being mentors, that I would still go to and speak to.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what would be sort of considered a success at this university academy? A full student cohort, or maybe a half full one where everybody gets a job on completion? That's a question from Tony in the chat.
No, it's the only way this university can be measured is by the employers at the end, who have employed a graduate from UA92 saying, these are amongst the best graduates, students we've ever had. They're rounded, their work ethic is fantastic, they do their job, they get up every single day, they're motivated, they're reliable. The things that really everybody wants to be. Is consistency is a really underused word when people say consistency. The idea that you turn up every single day, you do your job, and whatever's happening elsewhere in your life, you come in and you do your job and you're consistent. That's what an employer wants. They want that ability to be able to call upon you, to rely on you. And for me, that's where I think we judge this university, not by the certificate, not by, we want everyone to have a great time, we want everyone to get a great qualification, but the ultimate test for us is when the employers are feeding back into us that the person that they've employed, who's come through the courses here, are really sort of fantastic people to work with, and great people.
And I suppose in line with what you just said, we're choosing courses that are consistent with the industry links that we have. So our students are able to benefit from the relationships that you've built, and what they learn in the classroom automatically translates into graduate employment, which is fantastic, isn't it? I think it's really unique. I'd be interested to know, now UA92 is in its second year, what your day-to-day involvement in the organisation looks like now. Is it different every day? I imagine it's quite varied.
I do quite a bit of this type of thing to sort of just, if you like, sort of get over the key messages to what the beliefs are behind it, the founding principles. We came up with the idea. So I think the idea that we obviously speak about how passionate we are about this, we're invested in this in every single way. I attend the board meetings monthly, I have regular calls on it. But there's a great team here who obviously deliver. I'm not an academic by any stretch of the imagination, but I believe in this project. And I think ultimately from our point of view, we want to make sure this is the very beginning of it. It's the very early stages. We want to make sure that one, it grows in Manchester and embeds itself here as being a really important academic institution offering, and that's different and gives the people who come here every single day a really enjoyable experience, but challenges them and pushes them, but also believes in them and gives them opportunities, and treats them from day one like an individual, not one of sort of, like I say, a mass of people that just come in and walk through the door.
And you are very present on campus, so could our students ever expect a bit of a seminar from yourself or one of the other class of 92, do you think? That's something you're interested in?
I've done a couple. I mean, to be fair, every time they ask me to do one, I do one, but I mustn't be very good at them, actually. They don't ask me back that often.
I'll see to that.
No, I do. I've done a couple and I've enjoyed them, and I done a couple for the journalism students. We've had other people come in as well, and that's obviously something that we'll do. And we'll do. I think Philip's doing something on Thursday, and the rest of the lads will do whatever we need to do. And to be fair, I think it's just making sure that you get that balance between, yes, us coming in is important, and making sure that people see that we believe in it, but also I think it's really important that we've got a fantastic academic program here, and we're not academics, so we don't deliver it, and we need to make sure that it's a really serious course that's not, if you like, just us coming in every single week and saying hello to everybody, and that's not what this is about. It's about making sure that everyone's really, we believe in the team here, making sure that they get that real belief to go and deliver it. We don't come down every single day and sort of wander into the classrooms and undermining them or interfering. We don't do that.
Okay, great. One more question from the chat at the moment. So where do you see UA92 in 10 years' time, and what different courses would you like to aim to offer eventually?
I think on the courses, it would be more of a development around the key areas that we believe in. We did business, media and sport because we have a fantastic belief in those areas. We've gone into business, we're obviously involved in the media, and we're obviously sports people. So that's the reason we chose those areas. I think digital is becoming a really critical part of what the university will become because of our partnership with Microsoft, because of its ever-growing importance in life in terms of use of it. And I think that needs to embed itself within all the three subject areas as well. So for me, it would be keeping focused around the three key areas that we actually have at the moment. forgot what the first part of the question was.
Next 10 years, any
Oh,
big
next 10
plans
years
in
would
the
be to, I think, in stages would be to ensure that the first graduates get through into employment
Yeah.
and that they've had a wonderful experience, to get great results, but also that they get good jobs out of it. That would be sort of stage one for me. The next stage would be off the back of that to grow sort of the sort of student cohort within Uni 92 to a sort of a good number, but a good number that we can still give that experience to that we did do in the early days to obviously a smaller cohort there. And then as it grows, I'd like to see it develop. I'd like to see the way in which we do it here in terms of the curriculum, the way in which we deliver the modules, to be, I suppose, rolled out in terms of different universities, different satellite universities away from Manchester, maybe even internationally. That would be a sort of a real dream in sort of the 10-year outlook.
Amazing. A couple of questions around advice that you would give to students who are thinking of applying for UA 92 next September, and in regards to how they might boost their application to look like a more appealing student application.
I think come here. You know, I think don't listen to me on social media, don't watch this interview, come here and speak to the students who are already here, the people who are experiencing it, the professors and the other staff and team that are here. I would say come and, you know, make sure you do that, and that would be the thing that I would say to any student looking to apply. Obviously the courses, you have to obviously fit within the courses that we deliver, and you have to obviously have to look at the timetable and the curriculum and the different aspects of how we do the program here at UA 92. But what I would say is just get down here and speak to people, and you know, you make your own choice. You know, you have to be really comfortable with that choice. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. But I don't think you'll regret it if you come here and speak to people and understand how we deliver it. I think it's tailored towards a lot of people. Some people it won't be. Some people will like to do different things. But I think for a lot of people who are looking for that bridge from college through to employment, I think it will work really well.
Yeah, that question was from Christina, so thank you, Christina, for that. I'd be keen to know what your advice would be to students who are the first in the family maybe to apply for university, who maybe are a little bit apprehensive. It's probably similar to the advice you just gave, but for a lot of our students that would be the case.
It would be, and I think don't feel nervous about that. I think that's, to be fair, the type of student that we have always looked to target, to make sure that we sort of, you know, take down the boundaries that exist, and the fact that only certain people in this country feel as though they can go to university, or a certain section of people feel as though they can go to university. That's not why we're here. We're here to give opportunity to everybody and be inclusive. And when we looked at the partner universities, Lancaster were chosen not just because they were one of the top 10 universities in this country, but because 90% of their students come from state schools, which I think is critical to us. We all obviously ourselves are in state schools, and we feel that people should have an opportunity whatever school they go to, whatever area they live in, whatever the postcode was. And that is something that's embedded into us. And I think it is into most football players, because footballers generally come from what would be sort of probably more of the, you know, poorer backgrounds in the country generally. That's just the way it is. And I think there is a feeling that, you know, it is held against you if you come from certain postcodes, certain areas. And that needs to change. So I would say from that point of view, we should definitely, as a UA 92, be as inclusive as possible. We know that Lancaster University is the right partner to develop that with us.
There was a lot of big news stories over the weekend, but one that caught my eye particularly was Marcus Rashford's work with the government and the amazing efforts that the whole community, I suppose, put their name to. What more do you think other people in the public eye could be doing to leverage the platform to be helping education initiatives, child poverty initiatives? What could other people be doing, do you think?
He tried to hide it on a Saturday night, Boris Johnson, didn't he? He's sneaky one.
No comment.
Joe Biden's just been elected the president, and he thinks he can just sneak that in under the radar, that massive U-turn of feeding kids during the school holidays. Thanks for that, Boris. For me, he's done an incredible thing, but he's been listened to. He's got a great campaign behind him. He's a fantastic person, but there are others who are doing great things as well, who don't get the same level of promotion. And you know, say I don't know any football player. I know that ultimately football players, you have a reputation for fast cars or earning a lot of money per week or scoring goals, whatever it may be. But generally, I don't know any football player who doesn't want to do good for their community or for the people that they've grown up with. And Marcus Rashford's a shining example of that.
Great. And I don't want to bring COVID up, but I'm going to have to. Your other two elements of your business are focused around sports and hospitality.
Yeah.
How do you perceive COVID to be, let's start with sports, affecting sports now and moving forward? Do you think it'll help us adapt, evolve, or will it be a hindrance?
I think in terms of sport generally, I think elite sports now continuing during this lockdown, which I think is proven that it can handle COVID safely and securely. So I think that's a positive. I think it gives people that little bit of, it gives them a little bit of something, a bit of light at the weekends to watch a football match maybe, because it wasn't there obviously in the first lockdown.
Yeah.
So I think football will continue and other sports will continue. I think grassroots sports need to continue. I mean, look at in this second lockdown, the idea that they allow kids to go to school and mix in the hundreds every single day, but they don't let them play in the teams at the weekend is just madness. I just don't get it. No one gets it. And that's the inconsistency of the sort of application of rules within this virus. So the things that need to change on grassroots level, in terms of the biggest impact on sport, is the fact spectators getting into stadiums. That's where a lot of the obviously the revenue comes from for many of the clubs in the football pyramid, and it's the biggest loss at this moment in time to the atmosphere and the special experience that you have within a football stadium. I watched Manchester City and Liverpool yesterday, and the first half was breathtaking, and it would have been spectacular in front of fans. But you're just there in a stadium and it's vacuous, it's empty, it's unbelievable really. But we need to, they've got trial events, I think in Scotland last weekend. Nicola Sturgeon's been very cautious around COVID. So for her to sanction test events ahead of our government in this country, I think is something that I would say is a positive. I think we'll get I think we'll get fans back into the stadium in January, February. Hospitality, travel is just decimated. There isn't anything good to say at this moment in time for hospitality. It's being used as the sort of stick to beat everything with it would feel. It's been blamed for most things. I mean, how you can go from being a government that promotes help out, eat out to help out, and then 2 months later blame hospitality and put curfews in place is just beyond me. I mean, I can't get it. I'm obviously in hospitality, we're in hotels, and we've got 2 restaurants, and we'll get through it. We'll come out the other side, but it's tough. And there are many businesses that won't, and it's the 3rd biggest employer in this country. And what can you say? It's not being at this moment in time dealt with correctly. But we hope that coming out of sort of December, that there's been a large investment on protocols and processes in respect of COVID for hospitality, restaurants, hotels, and I think people are operating really well, but at this moment in time, it seems to be the sort of the blame seems to fall upon construction. No, other areas no, but hospitality is the scapegoat. You're right.
Well, then on a positive, if you were a student here now, or maybe when you were 18, 19 years old, what do you think would be your favourite thing about the UA92 organisation or the campus itself?
For me, I think I like knowing what I'm doing every single day. So the idea that I've got that morning, it's there. I know I'm doing it all the time, and I can get my head around that. I think that would be a positive for me. I think the open plan nature of the actual environment and the way in which the campus is fantastic. The fact that the link to the private sector and industry, I think, is really important. I think I would want that at that age that you're talking about. I think it's new. It's got an energy about it, and when I think of conventional university and the idea of sitting there in front of hundreds, in a lecture theatre of hundreds, lecture to is not for me education. It's not teaching. It's not the way in which we deliver things anymore. So for me, the idea of that would be just a nightmare. I mean, I fall asleep in cinemas, let alone lecture theatres. So I think I would say that to me would be the positives of how I would feel about this university.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, and well done to you.
My first ever interview. Hopefully not my last.
You did well. Well done.
Thank you. Back over to you, Andrew. Thanks very much.